We were and are under attack by a hostile foreign power, and they seem to be abetting that hostile foreign power. We should be debating how many sanctions we should place on Russia, or whether we should blow up the KGB or GSU, GRU. I mean, we should be retaliating massively.
Hold it now.
Is Russia an enemy of the United States?
Russia is a significant adversary. Putin is a KGB
Do you think that Trump is treating them that way?
I think that we have had 8 years of Barack Obama showing nothing but appeasement towards Russia. I mean, part of the irony...
President Trump is not appeasing Russia?
Actually, if you look on substance, part of the irony of this media obsession with Russia is that the Obama administration began with Hillary Clinton bringing a big red reset button to Russia, saying they were going to reset the relationship with Russia so that she and Obama were going to be friends with the Russians. That's how they began.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that Al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. And the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back, because the Cold War's been over for 20 years. But, Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s. You know I shoot under pressure.
I know that. You handle pressure well. Okay, there's your first letter. That's your P.
I got P.
This is CNN, home of fake news.
President Trump defended his son's June 2016 meeting with a Russian lawyer that promised damaging information on Hillary Clinton, calling it something normal in the world of politics. The president tweeting, "Most politicians would have gone to a meeting like the one Don Jr. attended in order to get info on an opponent. That's politics."
The threshold for why the past week was so important is not that it proved something specific, that happened. It's that it open up a revelation that had been off the table for months now. Consistently, the president and all the top aides and stuff had said, there's nothing here. There's nothing. No one met with anyone. Nobody knows any of these people. This is all just made up. And this proves that that wasn't right. And so there's a whole lot that isn't known now, including what the U.S. intelligence agencies knew about any of this and when they knew it. We still don't know that. Who else was involved? What were these discussions? But the reason why this week is so pivotal is that the entire Republican majority in Congress has been asked to stand by the president and support him through some very difficult times, and has made the calculation that it behooves them to do this, number one, because there was no evidence of anything to the contrary, just a lot of smoke, no fire, right? And number two, because of the strategic belief that the president's fortunes and their fortunes kind of rise or fall together. This has shaken that very fundamentally in terms of what they can believe, what they want to attach their name to. Not for everyone in the majority, but for enough people that it could become problematic.
I'm kind of sitting back and just pondering and kind of giggling a little bit. First, the comparison between Bill Clinton or the Clintons and the Trumps I don't think it's accurate, because I think everybody on this panel agrees that the Clintons just have a superior intellect and wit about them. Here we are excusing Donald Trump Jr.'s behavior because as the Wall Street Journal so eloquently called him a dunce.
Nobody's excusing his behavior, Bakari.
I didn't say that. No,
nobody.
Okay.
No, well, and just one further point. I think to expect radical transparency from this Trump administration, that's just not going to happen. Donald Trump is a president who will not pass a Russian sanctions bill, who is on the verge of giving Russians back their compounds, who refuses to acknowledge that the Russians interfered in our elections or meddled in our elections. So why all of a sudden do we believe that he's going to do a 180 and have radical transparency? The facts are that Donald Trump and his family are incapable of telling the truth.
No, stop, please, no, please, stop.
I mean, this is the shocking thing. Again, the amount of time you spend in desperation on a topic that has plummeted you to 13th place in viewership ranking across America. I mean, more people watch Nick at Night cartoons than CNN today.
Our ratings are doing just fine. I mean, if you want to go there, 13th, our ratings are doing just fine. But what ratings
Nick
represent is that people
11.
are interested in this. And our ratings
Nick at Night is 11.
that
more
Americans
people are interested in
this. Look,
more people are interested in cartoons than CNN.
Was it a good idea for Don Jr. to meet with this Russian lawyer?
Was it a good idea for the DNC to send its operatives to the Ukrainian embassy?
I'm not sure that answers my question.
No, if there's a meeting that was wholly appropriate, but which led to nothing, let's compare that to the DNC sending its people to the Ukrainian embassy to coordinate Oppo attacks against our candidate. I mean, if you want to see collusion, it's in the DNC.
So,
it is up to their necks.
So just let me follow your line of logic. You're saying it's inappropriate for the Democrats to meet with a foreign country, Ukraine, but it's not inappropriate for your campaign, for Donald Trump, to meet with the Russians.
What do you mean the Russians? Who did this woman work for at the time? Do you know?
Well, this
is
the
question,
Mr. Gorka. I mean, this is what investigators are obviously trying to. What is the answer? What is her connection to the Kremlin?
There was no connection. She was a private lawyer who had an interest with regards to the Russian adoption program and used a pretext to get a meeting with the campaign, which the campaign representatives almost immediately realized was not done in good faith, that she had another agenda.
That's right,
and
but
the meeting ended.
What's funny, Mr. Gorka, is that they wanted the original agenda. They wanted the dirt.
Which is what political campaigns do, but we don't meet on the soil of foreign nations at their embassies.
Okay, you've heard they've also pointed to this to this issue with the Democratic Party and the Ukrainian embassy. This comes from a story in Politico that ran in January. The headline: Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. And I want to read from the article. A Ukrainian American operative who was consulting for the DNC met with top officials in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington in an effort to expose ties between Trump, top campaign aide Paul Manafort, and Russia. The Ukrainian efforts had an impact in this race, helping force Manafort's resignation and advancing the narrative that the Trump campaign was deeply connected to Ukraine's foe to the east, Russia. So let me ask you, I understand Hillary Clinton lost, and I understand this effort was not as elaborate as the Russian effort, but was it acceptable, or would it have been acceptable for the Democrats to accept help from the Ukrainian government in this campaign?
No, it would be appropriate for the Democrats to accept help from the Ukrainian government. But I think if you look at the Politico article, and we're talking about just a single article here, if you accept all the facts in the article, the scale of what the Russians did is not comparable to anything in that article. If it were, the comparable analogy would be that the Ukrainian president directed the Ukrainian intelligence agencies to steal, to hack Donald Trump's campaign, steal emails, publish them, directed a social media army to influence the election, and sat down, its representatives sat down with Chelsea Clinton and John Podesta, in which they indicated they wanted the dirt on Donald Trump. There's no suggestion anything of that magnitude.
So the scale is different, acknowledge that, but this is problematic. This Ukrainian meeting is problematic in your eyes.
Well, it would be problematic to get any kind of support from a foreign government.
When I look at the tone and the way these attacks are launched, and I cited a couple examples for you, or the way that whenever there's a need for the appearance of balance, NPR will hire some conservative who hates the president, or the New York Times will go get Bret Stephens, whose main contribution is that he hates the president. Whenever there's the need for the appearance of fairness, there's no real effort to where are the pro-Trump journalists in the mainstream media? They don't exist because the entire mainstream media is against Trump, and that I think is not just bad for American policy. I think it's bad for journalism.
I think a lot of journalists are against lying, against deceit. That's where we are right now.
I'm against lying and deceit. I think that the function of the journalist to hold the administration accountable is a critical function enshrined in our Bill of Rights. But when you have a system where the most outrageous attack is what's rewarded with likes on Facebook and followings on Twitter, you're setting yourself up. No, it's not just opinion column. It's reporters.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at, including BS.